So we decided, being the excellent marketing company that we are, we decided we'd let you know a little bit more about it. So today we're trying a new format, and we're going to be kind of doing a little bit of a structured presentation in the beginning. We're going to be talking about late mortgage today, and our late mortgage product and why it's important, a little bit about how to work with it, what's good about it, why it's a product you should consider. And at the very end, we've got a pretty crazy way for you to kind of get involved with that product. So you're here on a good day. We're trying, we don't often do new stuff, and today we are. We're doing something unique to us, and hopefully it'll be exciting for you as well. And with that, Mr. Jimmy, I'm going to hand it back to you for your normal get us rolling there, buddy.
And
Hang on one
Alyssa, just,
sec.
yep, I was going to say, go ahead and turn on the recording.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Um, Connor, if you want to go ahead and get the recording started on our end. I don't know if it's going to say it out loud like it normally would because we already have some people recording with their note takers. So, maybe just say action or something.
It didn't say anything, but I believe that we are recording now on our end. So action.
Ready, action. Welcome to our fantastic agents and investors nationwide. Today is Thursday, July 10th, 2025. And this is All the Leads Mastermind podcast number 536. We're going to spend the first part of this call going over a particular topic. We're going to talk about kind of the title of the episode is Late Mortgage Leads, How to Help Without Sounding Predatory. So today's show is really all about helping homeowners behind on mortgage payments and doing it in a way that builds trust instead of feeling pushy or predatory. And I think late mortgage, probably along with divorce, is a very emotionally charged lead type. It's important that we kind of consider it's not just a sales opportunity. It's a chance to protect families and guide them through one of the most stressful moments of their life. So on the first part of the call today, you're going to hear from all of us and our coaches, and hopefully we'll hear from you when we open it up for questions. And as always, we're going to stick to this topic in the beginning, but if you have questions about anything, just save them for the end and we can talk about them. We're going to talk about maybe some red flags, some real life solutions, try to provide some insight and best practices. And then at the very end, we're going to kind of offer a special offer anybody who's been considering getting started with this very unique niche product. So Tim, take it from there, please.
Okay, well, great. Appreciate that. Yeah, like Jim said, we think this is a valuable product, but we think we also need to explain to you a little bit about why it's different. And, I think that's part of it is extremely important. And as importantly, we need to explain why it's important to you and why it should be part of your arsenal. When we started the company, we sort of started it and named it All the Leads because it was initially our intent that we would offer all the types of leads that we felt would be important for agents and investors and people who were interested in these to move forward. Unfortunately, good stuff caught up with us. And what I mean by that is we took off on probate. That was the first thing we picked because we felt like that was potentially possibly the bluest ocean out there because it was very underserved. And we were very successful in that and kind of developed a market leading position there, kind of never looked back. And we knew that we needed to come back and begin to offer other product along the way. And we just never got around to it because we were spending all our time getting better and better at working on probate. So in the last couple of years, we've expanded our horizons. We now offer a product that is a pre-probate product. We offer this late mortgage product we're talking about today. We offer a divorce product. We offer an aged expired product, which we'll talk about potentially on another call. But today we're going to talk about late mortgage and some important information about the product and about kind of why. Let's give you some issues about why it's important. Right now, there's over 1 million homeowners that are behind on their mortgage payments, and there are lots of reasons for that. Some of them going all the way back to COVID. My personal opinion is that despite the lessons that we should have learned potentially back in, the late before 2010, when the real estate market experienced its, shall we say, readjustment, Jim? Would that be a good way to call it?
Yep, I think so. Yeah, big
As
adjustment.
opposed to crash. We realized that we were getting people financed that really, are kind of one step away from not being able to make their payment. And over the period of time since, things started rocking along pretty well and moving again, we're kind of back there again. It has become relatively easy to find people who will paper high risk people, and you can just about get anybody financed. And there are a lot of people out there who, frankly, are really challenged making their mortgage payments because one bad thing happening to them, whether it's a job change or whatever, they're not going to be able to make that payment. So these are people that are in crisis. They didn't ask to be there. They probably, certainly, never intended to default on their mortgage, never intended not to make that payment, and they're not. They're people in trouble. And I'm going to talk about the empathy part of this in a second, but I think the issue here is that um, these are people who just now had a problem, and that's the key element about this product, is that it's not people who are sitting there literally waiting for somebody to come and tell them they got to get out. These are people who are just having a problem now. They did not didn't they made their last payment before this one. They just missed one. And that's where we get it. We have a unique way of, pulling this data in. We've got great sources. We do a lot of work to make sure we give you the right contact information, information on the property and all of that. But more importantly, we're giving it to you before their mailbox and their inbox and everything else is filled up with a lot of garbage about, people telling them everything in the world they can do to, take care of themselves. And more importantly, before they're embarrassed and before they're embarrassed among their peers and other people, and everybody knows they're late. So right now, it's an important issue that we work with those folks when we talk to them, that we're working with them in a way that we lead with empathy. We know that, like we said, we know that they're not, people that intended to get that way. They're not uh, the dregs of society. They're not bad people. And the beauty of it is you can show up with some solutions without any shame or anything else. And it's a tremendous opportunity for you to build a relationship based on that sort of stuff, whether you may be able to almost instantly get them out of trouble. You may be able to offer some suggestions about how to help them fix their problems. The sad part of it is, unfortunately, that even if we are able to help them now and offer a solution that will help them potentially get back into sync with their mortgage holder and all of that, the chances are still unfortunate that and I don't know the exact statistics. I did see it at one point, but it was a piece of data that said 80 something percent of the people who miss one mortgage payment will miss another one. And over 90 something percent of those people will then continue to miss them. So they're really one step away from a really, really slippery slope. And you're here trying to help them get past that and get into it early enough to be able to do something good for them. And that's the approach we feel like you need to be working with in your mindset when you're working with them, that this is the issue. You're kind of between them and the wolf. If you can't help them and nobody else can help them, their next step is going to be someplace they're going to be uncomfortable, and you want to try to help get past that. And so I'm going to call on people that are really good at doing this, have great ways of phrasing that. I'm going to ask Coach Bill at this point, one of our coaches that's part of our program, and Bill's been our coach, I think, longer than anybody else Um, has probably talked to most of you all, or has at some point been available to talk to you over the years. He's been with us doing this. Bill, if you'll pick it up from here, I'm going to let you kind of step up and talk a little bit about the empathy side of this.
Thank you, Tim. So, number one, I lost homes in 2010. I lost 7 properties, including my wife's dream house. So when you're dealing with people that are behind on their mortgage, empathy is absolutely the key. and being gentle, right? And you want to call them and basically a sample is, hi, my name's Bill. I'm reaching out and I help people that are experiencing difficulties with their mortgage. Um, and if this is not relevant to you, okay. Um, and I apologize for calling you, but if it is, I've definitely helped other people in the same situation that I was in. So you want to make it personal and opening, right? The other part of this is I have made these mistakes, so I'm only bringing these up because I've done them. You never want to attack them. You never want to use a statement as you're about to lose your house. You're in foreclosure. You've got one chance to save it. Think of your children, right? I have done all these, and the big mistake that I see that I made myself when I started, and my students and people that I've helped, is they care more about getting that listing, making that deal, more than helping the people, right? It's all about empathy, and how you can exhibit that in the first 3 minutes is your voice, tonality, and being gentle and being understanding, right? I think the most powerful statement that I can ever tell other people in this situation is there have been other people in your exact situation. Because it makes them not feel alone and they're the only one this happens to. And when it does happen to you, you totally feel like it's only happening to you. Why me? Right? And you're so caught up in trying to save your house, you cannot look beyond what's next. Is it really the best thing to keep my house? Is it better to walk away with some money, or is it better to end this for my family and all the stress? Because when you're in it, you can't really see it, right? And how you get to that situation is by asking very open-ended questions, which if you approach it correctly, they're going to start answering your questions. And the things that you really want to know is how many payments are they down and where are they in the foreclosure situation, because you should be able to look at the address and figure out if they have any equity in the house, right? And if not, then you want to go to a short sale, because trust me, a short sale is way better than a foreclosure, right? Because if you have a foreclosure, you're not done. You're paying the taxes on what the lender lost. On a short sale, at least in California, there's no tax repercussions to you. So again, empathy, empathy, empathy. And I've done a lot of short sales. I've done a lot of people on late pays. And I've got to say that the information that you get from ATL is accurate. It's way more accurate than any other lead information I've used, including RedX or any of the other ones.
So, Bill, just real quick before we kind of kick it to the next person on here, the last part of your slide that's up there, talking about the dignity side of this, I think one of the things that you're really, really good at, and in this kind of format, it's so difficult to do that, but they at this point, if you can make them feel like they're going to come out of this with your help unscathed, not embarrassed to go to the soccer game next weekend and have to hold their head up high and all that, and really potentially offer them a solution, it's going to make their life better and okay. That's the dignity side of this. I think that's the key element there that is something that's really vital. And Francine, you're asking a quick question. I'm going to take a second and respond. Francine's asking, how do you raise your hand? You raise your hand by clicking on the react button on the bottom of Zoom, and there's a little heart there on my screen. It's a little different on other apps, but you'll see there a thing that says raise your hand, and we'll be happy to take your questions. We will take them at the end, but you can certainly feel free to raise your hand now. That way we'll kind of know what's sitting there waiting for us when we finish up here. So feel free to do that. And if you have any other questions, ask it in the chat. But Bill, back to what I was saying before, that dignity part of this, that's a matter of kind of seeing where your customer's at and meeting them at that point, right?
Exactly. That's where the questions come in. But a lot depends on where you're coming in, which is what's great about the early late pays as opposed to when the notice of default's filing, because you can bring that option or angle, I hate to use that word, up. And it's way better to walk away with money than it is not, right? Because the minute that they get the pre foreclosure, there's gonna be $5,000 or $6,000 in fees. As soon as they get to foreclosure, there's another 18, 25,000. If they draw it out, all their equity gets eaten up.
Jimmy?
Yeah, Bill, I was going to add one thing you mentioned, the difference between foreclosure and short sale. When your home gets foreclosed, you're not going to buy another one for 7 years. And with being behind on your payment, if you're 1, 2, 3 months behind on your payment, you clean it up, you get things under control. A year or two from now, you should be able to get another home. So that's a big difference to someone. You're not going to own another home. You're going to be renting for 7 years versus, hey, this can all be behind you in a couple of years.
And
just wanted to add that.
And all this needs to be said when you feel is the correct process, right? Because everyone's gonna go all over the board when they're talking about this once they get into this thing. It's either going to be illogical, which is normally not what happens, or very emotional. It's kind of when people open up to you, it's kind of like you're almost a psychiatrist for a few minutes in this conversation.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about what the options are and potentially how to present those. And for that, we're going to call on Mr. Bruce. Bruce, can you take it from here, bud?
Yes. I was on mute. Sorry, guys. Yeah, absolutely. I think I want to start by letting you guys know it's really important that you just don't show up presenting yourself as I know what you're going through, even if you do. Even if you do. I've got a friend of mine who lost his son. It was just devastating accident. And I caught myself just a couple of days ago saying, hey, I get it. And I caught myself and I went, I don't get it. Right as he was coming out and going, no, you don't. So we need to show up letting people know that, hey, I understand that this can be a little bit of a complex situation, and I have several different solutions, and that's very important. Several different solutions to be able to present that will get you guys out of a tough spot like this. And then instead of just diving into the presentation, say there's a lot of different solutions. Do you think I could take a quick minute and find out what your goals are? So what are your goals as in this situation? Are you guys trying to save the house and keep it? You want to catch up on payments? Is this something that feels like it might be an ongoing problem for you? See where they are. Just kind of have that conversation. A lot of times this conversation is going to happen on the phone first, whether they called you off of one of your letters or whether you called them, kind of cold called them. This basic level conversation starts there. And if they say, hey, what are your solutions? Say, there's a few of them. And don't go into amazing amounts of detail if you're talking to someone on the phone. There's a few different solutions. To probably take 30 minutes to kind of walk through those. Could you want to set a Zoom up, or maybe I could come meet you at the property and kind of go through those. And you can give sort of an overview of these options, but when you get to the property or you get to that kind of next level conversation where you're going deep, obviously you need to have a cash solution for them. They're in distress, and depending on how much stress they're under, they may want to just get out of the property quickly for what they can get without going through any kind of a listing or short sale or anything process like that. So if you're a realtor and you don't have cash solutions, go get some investors. They can help you with cash solutions. If you're an investor and you don't have listing solutions, please go find, and we've got plenty of them on this call, please go find a listing agent that can offer a listing solution. So you guys, if you're in one camp, investor versus realtor or the other, you need to be able to present kind of both options. And if you can't, team up. Find people that complement the services that you're offering, because these folks, a lot of them are going to want to list and pull their equity out, but some of them maybe just need to move on as quickly as possible. Now, some of the people that you're having a conversation with, and you need to be able to articulate this, some of the folks that you're having a conversation with have think that they're going to catch up. And I don't remember if Jim mentioned it in the beginning of the call, but it's a pretty large percentage of folks that fall behind, miss one payment, that are going to miss more. It just becomes this spiral. But after a single payment is missed, maybe even a second, lot of times they think that they're going to be catching up. In their mind, I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to get caught up. We as human beings are typically going to be kind of optimistic about whatever situation we're in. So just because they say, hey, yeah, we plan on keeping the house, it's not your time to be like, hey, you're probably not going to catch up. You're probably going to keep falling behind. You're probably going to end up talking to me in 6 months. So you go, perfect. That's one of my main things that I help with, is figuring out a plan to help you guys catch up, completely independent. Maybe I would say, hey, I don't charge for that. The only thing that I would ever ask in return is if later down the road you decide that it just makes more sense to sell and get your equity, let me show you what kind of offer I might be able to bring. So, but I do want you guys being able to talk to them about working through a refinance, a loan modification type of program. So that's an option as well. So let's go back through the options. You want to be able to have a cash offer if they're have a need to get out of the property and out of their situation fast. Get a cash offer solution. Get a listing solution. If they think that they're going to be able to catch up, offer to be able to guide and support them. If you want to charge a fee for your guidance and your support, your resources, go for it. I don't. I would just offer that and tell them that your payment back to me, if I help you with this, is if later in a year or two, and I always put things way off. I don't want pressure. Later in a year or two, you decide that it is going to be wise to sell and maybe get the equity out of the house, that you let me show you what kind of offer I might be able to bring. Okay. And I'm a realtor and I use that language. What kind of offer I might be able to bring. Just because you're a realtor doesn't mean that you can't facilitate an offer. It usually gets pretty, opens the dialogue up. Okay. And then the last option that I'm going to talk about for now is the one that everyone else has kind of hit on, and that's going to be the short sale option. So there's no equity. We're behind on the mortgage. We're not catching up. Maybe even if we could catch up, there's still no equity. If you're in some markets, this is good. In some markets, there's people that are upside down in their house now. Other markets, not so much. But you should at least be comfortable having short sale conversations. And if you are not comfortable moving someone through this, that's where Jim's wife comes in. She can help with those short sale processes. So at least start to get comfortable in some markets being able to talk to people about short sales, even if you don't personally want to work through the bank communication. You can always outsource that. Okay. The idea here is we want to give people options. Try not to give them options too early in a relationship or too early in a conversation. Let me say that. Too early in a conversation can be a problem. Because it takes away their curiosity. I need to leave them with a little bit of curiosity so that as we talk, we can build more rapport before I just show my hand. Okay. So you guys are going to want lenders, attorneys, short sale specialists. I mentioned Jim and Pam. They've got a short sale platform that can help get through the short sale process if you don't know how to or don't want to handle that. Believe me, I don't want to handle short sales anymore, but I'll absolutely take a short sale listing and turn it over to someone. Same thing with attorneys. And some attorneys in some states are even able to work out a settlement for families. Not every state can do this, and not every lender will cooperate, but some lenders, this is a little trick for some of you. Some lenders, if you go to them and say, hey, your client owes 500,000 on this house, here's a broker price opinion or an appraisal that shows that it's only worth 350 and they're behind on their mortgage. Will you take 300 now, cash up front? Will you take 300 as a settlement from them? And clients love that. They'll find the money or they'll sell it to you or something like that if the bank will work a settlement like that out. That's getting a little bit more complex. You need to check the kind of the legal process in your state to see if that's doable.
And Bruce, one of the things we're going to probably do, and I think we'll sort of set the stage for this. I think the next time we talk about this kind of in a series here, I want to bring Pam on, that's Jim's wife, and let Jim and Pam and all of us talk a little bit about the short sale process and really what's involved in that, because, that's a mystery to a lot of people. It's like, "Oh, I don't want to get involved in that. We got to deal with a bank and all that." And so we just sort of say, well, deal with a short sale specialist. Well, that's great, but we're here to educate as well. We want you to know that there's people there behind that you can talk to, and so you can learn a little bit more about that. And I saw in the chat somebody asked, are we working with people to do that? And yes, we are. And I think we'll make a point of doing that going forward. Okay.
Awesome. Cool.
All
Good.
right.
That's all I got.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you very much. Next up, we're going to have Steve. Steve is going to talk a little bit about some solutions that may help, and some things that structures rather that can help, and kind of how to properly put those, kind of building on what Bruce said. So with that, Steve, you take it away, bud.
Thanks, Tim. So much like Bruce and Bill said, still leading with empathy. One of the options you have that many people are unaware of is that, sure, best way to list a home is with a realtor. That's probably going to be the best way. However, it's not the only way. One of the things you can do is provide, like Bruce said, many solutions. One of them is creative financing solution. So for many, when they hear creative financing, hey, you're pulling a fast one on me. No, it's just another way or approach to which you can get relief for the seller, given where they are. So one of the options, given this is a pre-foreclosure, in other words, I don't have a notice of default yet, but one's coming, an option could be a subject to financing. And subject to, very simply, is the mortgage remains in the seller's name. However, it gets placed in either a trust or a contract for deed, depending on your state, where you, as the investor, become the trustee. So typically it's the address of the home. And many people say, well, if I do subject to, won't that trigger a due on sales clause? Yes, banks do have due on sales clause because it changes. However, many people, for the challenges of investments, will put stuff into a trust. But if you're behind on payments, yeah, the lender is probably going to be concerned what's going on. Typically, conversation with a lender, letting them know that you're seeking to assist the seller to make this loan perform again, they're okay with it. Not a problem, because banks don't want to be landlords. That's really what it comes down to. They don't want the property back. They want the property to be able to perform. So in dealing with the seller, again, empathy is huge. Asking them questions, and maybe even saying, look, I have to ask you a couple questions so I can better understand how I can provide you with solutions. It kind of sets the tone. Where is that okay? And ask them for their permission. And unlike I agree with Bruce. This is something that is confusing. It's better to be done in person, to go look at the home, set an appointment, ask them to have a copy of their mortgage statement so you can see where they are because they're behind X number of payments, and ask the question, like Bruce said, hey, out of curiosity, is there any way anybody could lend you money to get you back up to speed? In other words, you're not just trying to swoop in and take the home from them. And more times than not, when you ask the question, it's not there. And oftentimes people are willing to move forward to trade equity for speed and convenience because that's what they're up against. That's the challenge. Now, a lease purchase would not, although it's a creative solution, that wouldn't work in this situation. Subject to, typically when there's pain, that would be your best option. If you're going to buy it yourself as an investor, and you're going to put money down to catch them up, it's got to be subject to whenever you put your own money down. If you have an investor that you can go with, obviously, subject to, they're interested in that, and they're going to make sure they've got a spread depending on what they want to do with the home. They're going to decide, okay, either it's going to be a buy and hold, or I'm going to buy it, fix it up, and sell it. Point two there, leaseback transition sales. That could be for a safe face for the seller. I'll give you an example. Let's say the seller's got a student in school, it's getting ready to finish the school year or graduate from school, where the home can be sold to another buyer quickly and they can stay in the home and lease it back, provided they can show that they can make whatever the agreed upon payment would be, mortgage payment, rent payment, however, to allow the student to finish in the school district for the year and then transition out. This is something that you've got to do through a title company. There's got to be attorneys involved. Any payments that are made for the person on the loan, on the mortgage, they need to have through a third party at least a document every month that shows that mortgage is being covered. In other words, it's not like I've turned this over to you and I've put myself at risk. And typically with a subject to, there is a timeline associated with it. Could be 24 or 36 months that, hey, this is going to be done, and the delayed cash sale where the mortgage is covered and then they're checked out. Now, when the title is transferred, you can decide because you own the home. But if you've made an agreement with them as to when they would be out of it completely, then you need to adhere to that. We're going to put people over profit and do the right thing. But it is another way to which this can occur that can be done quicker than, let's just say, a traditional listing process, the inspections, although there's inspections that you should do from a due diligence standpoint, it will go quicker. And if folks don't want, for whatever reason, a lot of people looking at their home, you could do that. But also as an investor, what you want from the seller is something in writing that allows you to market that home to either another investor or a rent-to-home buyer. And that rent-to-home buyer has to be vetted, because the worst thing you want is to go back to a lender with someone who is not able to make the payments on a loan. All you're doing is you're perpetuating that, and that's unethical. You got to make sure that they've been vetted, a good credit score. Maybe they're just outside traditional financing, but they'll get there. A lot of times, many entrepreneurs, they got plenty of cash, but on paper, the credit's not there for the bank. They may need some seasoning. They may need 18 or 36 months of seasoning, because what do entrepreneurs do? They hide their money, and they hide it legally. There is an ability to do that. But sometimes when they go to make a big ticket purchase, they can't show it. It's not that they don't have cash, but the banks wants a little bit more from them. That's where subject to comes in. It allows folks another option to consider. We can move quickly and to be able to get them out. And then again, it may be, what is it you need to move? Okay, where the person taking this on is willing to make whatever the payment is in the agreed upon amount, where the bank gets paid, it's made whole, they're moving forward, and the seller actually has a little bit of money to move, and then they're at it. A lot of folks are grateful to do that. I think it goes back to what Jim said about bankruptcy. I saw some notes in the chat, depending on the loans for foreclosure, there may be different years associated with that, but the credit is dinged. It's not just about a house. It could be about a new car. Maybe they can't go purchase it as a result. But this helps them to avoid being in that situation. So subject to is another option that folks can use to be able to solve their problem.
Okay. Anything else, Steve?
No, unless somebody's got something for me.
Okay, well, we're going to keep this going forward, and we've got one more round here of coaches to hear from. Aline is going to talk with us now, kind of about the red flags, the things that you want to be careful of when you're working with somebody, and you got somebody on the other end of the phone. Here's what you need to be listening for, and these are important things to be aware of. And as always, I think what you're hearing from all of our people is we're trying to show you how to do this in a way that is ethical, that it's something you can be proud of, so that your attitude is correct when you are talking to people, whether you've sent them a letter and they've responded, or you're reaching out to them by phone or whatever. You are proud of what you're doing. You're bringing value. And that's really what this is kind of all about. So, Aline, if you'll pick it up from here and talk a little bit about that, that would be great.
Yes, absolutely. There it is. I was going to say, do we change the screen? Yes. So in all areas, I think a lot of the times the people and the leads that we speak with are in a very vulnerable situation. So I think that this could actually go across the board for many of the different leads, but I know we're speaking about late mortgage right now. So really listening, doing more listening than talking. And that's the opportunity to really hear people and see what's going on and asking questions, because questions will get us the answers. Asking a question, pausing, and really asking more questions based on what they're saying to get more clarity. And it'll be really interesting to see how much people will end up sharing when we really just ask the question, stop, and we listen. And we want to hear things like, well, things that they've purchased or they've done that would really just put them in a distressed situation. So, I know maybe we may be a little bit pressed for time. So I just kind of want to jump forward to a story and something that recently happened with a seller. And this happened to have been for family members that were moving their elderly mother out, and she had been involved in getting a reverse mortgage. Secondly, she was talked into a phone call to get gutter guards for her house. Then the third thing was solar panels. Now, all of these things could seem like they could be a good idea and individually, but when they prey on elderly people, it's typically because they know that they can get away with a lot of things. And hearing this, I unfortunately heard it after the fact. She had already signed up for these things, and it was detrimental. It was a huge, huge load on the family financially, just understanding this. And as somebody ages and they get older in their years, there's less cognitively, that there's that cognitive ability is lost somewhat. So they're making decisions sometimes without calling their children, without calling their loved ones, and really just like educating the family or listening to things that the people may be saying to you where you could prevent them or educate the family members and help them understand what could be happening. So this particular family was under a tremendous amount of stress with all the things that befell on this particular their mother with all of those things. So really understanding that even though things seem like it could be a good thing individually, it's really, really important to ask the question, listen, and educate in a very gentle way. And I think essentially, just I think the other thing is that obviously we're not attorneys. We're not here to explain the law. So as an adjunct, just making sure that you say, seek an attorney, get legal advice, somebody that you trust that you can talk to, and that you can make sure that you can hopefully avoid these things in advance and build some barriers from these things to happening. And it's, by the way, not just on your landline, although this particular older woman had a landline and that's how they got her. It happens on our cell phones all day long, too. So it's not like just get rid of that landline and you'll be fine, because we're getting spam and calls like that. Um, and they're pretty good at it. They really can be pretty good at roping people in. So be empathetic in the communication. Again, I think that's something that's synonymous across the board. And one thing I want to just end with is people typically know everything that we're going to tell them, right? It's like when a kid makes a mistake or they oversleep every single day and you tell them, you're oversleeping, they already know that. So really coming from a place of more like, how can I support you? Not digging in and adding salt to the wound, but really more so being that holding hand and supportive. That's it.
Tim, are you frozen?
I think he might be.
I'll make a comment there while we wait for Tim to come back. One thing I saw on the screen there, Aline, was the unrealistic promises. And it reminds me, about a year or so ago, we had a loan modification company in Jacksonville they contacted us and they were sending us people that loan modification had failed. 100% of them were in foreclosure. And so we were farming those out to our subscribers and, saying, hey, these people need to list or sell. Half of them were very interested. I think 2 of them ended up closing because unfailingly they would get interested and then somebody would call and make them a ridiculous guarantee. I guarantee I can sell your home. I guarantee I can stop you from foreclosure. But those were in the beauty of what we're offering here. These people are not in foreclosure. It's pre-foreclosure. Their phone's not ringing off the hook. By the time it goes to foreclosure, unfortunately, they're a lost cause because they do get so many unrealistic promises and guarantees. So the nice thing with this product is you're getting there way before that becomes an issue. Tim, are you there? Are you back?
Yeah, we're having a bad storm here, and my bandwidth is going up and down a little bit. It logged me out and logged me right back in. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. And
Okay.
Tim, I'm sure you noticed there's a bunch of chats and we had a couple people with their hands up. So
Yep, I saw that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for participating, our coaches today. We tried to add some structure here, and guys, this is a kind of a capsule summary of how to work this product, how to use it, why it's valuable, what's there. There's a lot of it out there. There's a ton of people that are, you're unaware that they're doing the things that they're doing. They may be your neighbors that are, experiencing this problem, and they don't necessarily want you to know. Nobody wants people to realize that they're having financial trouble. It's, there's a stigma attached to that. And that's the key element to think about here, is that you're trying to, help with that and help the sort of stigmatized version of that feel better. Always off.
He's blown off the screen again. Well, Alyssa, I'm assuming you're there. While we wait for Tim to come back, one thing I was supposed to add at the end there is just kind of, you back, Tim? Okay, go ahead.
You did or didn't hear. This is
No,
frustrating.
go ahead. We lost you. Go ahead.
Anyway, all I was going to say is that
This could be a comedy routine. Tim, we lost you again. Alyssa, maybe you can go to some of the chats and the people that raised their hand. I did want to say, if I could summarize it for Tim, every situation is different. I think the thing we talked about, approaching people with compassion and option, is how you win in this niche.
For more than
And
just one thing.
exactly. And if you're not working these leads towards the end of the call, we're going to give you a special offer to kind of help you take advantage of these niche leads and get started. And Alyssa will post that towards the end of the call. But Tim, you're back now. Are you back to
I
stay?
am, but I think I'm gonna open the floor here to some questions. We saw a couple of hands up earlier, and I don't see those hands up right now. I know Francine had a question, and some other people did as well. And so kind of help me here a little bit by raise your hands back up if you'd like to talk a little bit.
Alyssa, you here?
Yes, I'm not seeing any hands raised up at the moment, and it
Okay,
looks like we had a call, or we had a question about short sales, which I know we already addressed. Winston had mentioned something about FHA loans, and David had mentioned VA and FHA loans. So I'm not sure if anybody wants to make any comments about those and the relevancy.
Alyssa, I think he was correcting me. I said you can't get a mortgage for 7 years, and he is correct. That's if you file bankruptcy. He's right. You can FHA and VA. Sometimes you can get one sooner, but it's still infinitely easier if you're only a couple months behind than if you're years behind. So thank you for that clarification.
Yeah. Carmen asked, and this may be a Tim question if hopefully he's with us. The question is, does ATL have a cash offer like Probate Cash, or do we pull together our own list of buyers? And I think Tim is still frozen.
I think he's frozen.
I would say if you got something, post it, let us know, and we'll find you somebody in your market. There's virtually a market. As a matter of fact, we have something on our website. I can't remember what we called it, Tim, where you can actually post a deal there. Matchmaker. It's Matchmaker. It's on our homepage of our website. Post a deal there. If you're looking for an investor, we'll find you one. We'll have one of our subscribers in your market will know somebody. So we'll help you facilitate that for sure.
And I would add really, really fast that you should also be out building your cash investor network. Please go build your cash investor network and don't strictly rely on the matchmaker. However, use the matchmaker in the meantime, the matchmaker Jim just described, but it's going to be very beneficial for you to go build your network.
I think I've identified my weakest link. It's bandwidth. Samson, you raised your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. I've sent for the same message and same question I'm asking to 4 other people here. None of them answered. But anyway, I am a newcomer here to this ATL, and I just want to ask, do you guys have any type of a library or any type of resources that for someone that like myself, rather than just fumbling through all these sort of screens that I saw that you guys provided, how can I start from the scratch in order to pave myself correctly and doing the right questions, asking the right questions at the right moment, and accessing the right people. Basically, from the I just graduated from kindergarten. I want to go to the first grade. What am I supposed to do?
Well put. Appreciate that. Great way to put that. And if I don't break up, I'll answer a little bit of it and then ask Bruce to jump in here as well and all the coaches. But obviously, we've been doing these podcasts for a long, long time, so they're all online and available to you to be able to find some value there. And I think I'm frozen again. Am I frozen again?
No, you're good.
But you're good now, Tim.
You're going to be.
It's bonging on me, so I can't really tell. So that's important. The other thing that I would say to you is that as a subscriber, have access to our coaches on a one-on-one basis. So any questions that you have, you can certainly on a one-on-one basis get on their calendar, schedule them. It's part of the value of your membership, of your subscription with us to do that. And all of our calls are indexed, so you can find that information online. You can also go into search and type anything that you want on the website in your portal and look the information up that you're looking for at any point. So a lot of the things that you're asking for are there and are available. And Alyssa, I think one of the things we probably ought to do on the slide deck here is maybe potentially make these slides available to folks so that they can see them. So maybe we'll export those slides and you can have them to kind of draw from. And if you got a specific question, certainly feel free at any point, Samson, to, ask it, and we'll be happy to, pick it up and take it from there. Okay. Any other questions out there? I saw somebody else had asked um, other questions about the things that are there. And Andy, thank you for helping Samson there as well. Um, I think the key element here that, we're kind of to the top of the hour, and like I said, we're obviously learning this approach as we go, and we're not going to do this every time, but we are going to kind of try to do this on a structured basis going forward. When we've got important information to put out, we want to put it together in an appealing way so that we kind of deliver the info, and you can't say you don't know that we've got these things, so we're going to put it out there and beat it pretty hard. We're trying to grow our business. We're here, we offer so much more than, the other folks who just sell leads in the industry that we're in. We've always offered way more than anybody else does, and we don't make a lot of noise about it. So we're going to make some noise about that. We're doing what we need to do to make sure that you know why we're the right people to work with to grow your business. We're not just a leads company. We offer a system, we offer training, we offer education, we offer assistance, we offer, world-class coaches that know the market better than anybody else around here. And you can't go wrong, working with us, but we want to make sure you feel that way. So we're going to do everything we can to kind of put information out there and help as best we can.
And there he goes again. Welcome to sunny Florida, where your thunderstorms interrupt your internet. Alyssa, you want to put up the call to action, the special offer, so they can look at that towards the end of the call. Yeah, there you go. If you're on this call, or even if you're hearing this later on a rebroadcast, and by the way, Samson, all of these are on Apple Podcasts and virtually every podcast out there. Also, our search bar, just alltheleads.com, whether you're a subscriber or not, is very intuitive. You can go in there and pretty much just put in a subject, and it'll give you all the recordings where we discuss that subject. So I'd encourage you to do that. But looking at this sheet here, Tim, you back?
Go ahead, Jim.
Okay. If you're here and you say, hey, this is something sounds interesting, I'd like to take advantage of this. If you would like to add, or you want to talk to us about adding late mortgage leads, again, it includes all the tools. We'll help you grow your pipeline. Just go to alltheleads.com, offer 536, and that references this is call number 536. So if you're listening and you're not seeing this, alltheleads.com/offer 536. Just go there, say, hey, I was on your call, or hey, I'm interested in late mortgage leads, and we'll get back to you with a special offer to get started. Anything you want to add to that, Tim? Yeah. Alyssa, anything you would like to add?
The only thing that I would like to make sure of is if anybody is interested in getting the slides from today's call, just go ahead and shoot an email to support, and we'll get you a copy of the slide deck. I think in future weeks, I'll be able to make it downloadable so that if you want to take the slides with you when you leave the call, we'll post a link at the end for you to be able to take them at that point. Send an email over to support at alltheleads.com, or you can chat us at alltheleads.com, and we'll send you a copy of the slides from today's podcast.
Perfect. Alyssa, thank you for putting together some great material today too. Tim, anything you want to say in closing, or are you going to freeze up on us again? He's got stage fright terribly. He just freezes up every time we ask him to talk. Oh, that was classic. That was great. All right. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I want to particularly thank all the coaches for their contribution. Alyssa for putting this together. I want to thank everybody who chatted or raised their hand. And as always, I want to challenge each of you, take one idea that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share the results with the group. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. We'll talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care.